Hi, my name is Sophie, and I'm a third-year psychology and sociology double major at the University of California, Santa Cruz. During the time of the COVID-19 pandemic, what was most interesting to me is that I felt like this resembled a real-life trolley dilemma. Except for with the trolley dilemma, we're all extremely willing and open to listening to each other's views and how do other people get to the conclusions that they get to, what's their reasoning. And yet during the time of the COVID-19 pandemic, it seemed to me like we were not as willing to listen to each other's views. Everyone is dealing with these really strong emotions, and we were more unwilling to listen to each other's views than we would be previously. So what I decided to study in my research is looking at the moral foundations which underline each political view and trying to see if we increase, decrease in these views, and how they shift. So I looked at the 5 moral foundations of care harm, fairness proportionality, authority respect, in-group loyalty, and purity sanctity. And what I found is that conservatives generally tend to prioritize in-group loyalty, purity sanctity, and authority respect. On the other hand, liberals tend to prioritize care harm and fairness proportionality. During the time of the pandemic, they stayed pretty similar and consistent in what they prioritized. The only shift is that they either increased or decreased in each of these moral foundations, which in some led them to pretty much drifting towards the middle of the spectrum. So where before conservatives and liberals each sat on opposite ends of the spectrum for each moral foundation, here we actually saw them come together and regroup closer to the middle. On the other hand, what we saw with libertarians is that their views didn't really increase or decrease or have these dramatic shifts than they did previously. The only change that we saw was a dramatic decrease in how they viewed authority respect. To me, this shows that libertarian views are actually pretty predictable. It could have been predictable that libertarians would decrease in authority respect, not only given what their actual political affiliation represents, but also given the restrictions that were happening during the time of the pandemic in terms of lockdown and the stay-at-home orders. For me, what these findings show is that where conservatives and liberals generally tend to disagree on issues because we have obviously very different views and we sit on very different extremes of the spectrum for each moral foundation. Here it seems to me like we're more coming closer together means that we're more willing to listen to each other's views and we're more willing to agree. And so if we want to come to productive, efficient solutions to ending the virus, it's really important that we listen to each other's views, as now we can see that we kind of generally come from the same place in terms of what we're prioritizing. At least that's the case right now. I hope that this research can be helpful for doing that, and as well as helpful for avoiding future conflict and future tension, at least in terms of how we're dealing with this crisis.